Hey guys, it is April 14th at 12:22 and we are actually about to head out to the gym, but I wanted to quickly show you guys my lower body mobility routine. So this is what I do to warm up for squats, deadlifts, and any lower body movements that I'm ever doing. These are just warm-up mobility movements. This is not an exercise, this is not a workout plan. This is just to warm up your body. It's very important to warm up before you work out, and you don't really realize that until you injure yourself. So I never used to do any mobility work. I would do a lot of stretches that I did for cheerleading, which isn't usually what you want to do when you're doing a lot of compound movements, because for cheerleading we had a lot of static stretches. So it would be like you reach and touch your toe and you hold it for like God knows how long. So for a lot of lifting movements, that's the type of stretching that you want to do after you're done with your workout. You don't have to stretch after you work out. That's up to you. Sometimes I'll foam roll after I work out, but I rarely ever stretch. But I always make sure I do dynamic movements before I work out. So that's going to be movements that are going to get your blood flowing, get your muscles working, and get everything stretched out and warm, because it's not good to work out when you're cold. And I don't mean like literally like, oh my god, it's cold in here. I mean like your muscles will literally just snap if you just like start squatting and you haven't done anything. So I'm going to show you guys the movements that I like to do before I work out. I also show you some movements that I do for my upper body as well, because for squatting and deadlifting, it's very important for me to keep my upper back tight. So I'm going to show you guys some of the key movements that I do for that. So if you want to see a full thing on that in another video, give this a thumbs up and let me know in the comments down below. I just wanted to include that because I do a little bit of upper body mobility for squats and deadlifts, just because I need to keep my upper back tight. So there's a couple movements that I do to help with that, and also because my shoulders just suck. And I injured this one and it never really got better because it's an injury and it's just kind of, it's forever, so it's fine. But I really do need to keep my mobility up for that shoulder area. So I show you guys some of that as well. I also show you guys some stretches that I do to help out with any knee problems that you may have. It's not like a magic pill and you're going to be better and your knee's going to be better. Like if your knee is hurt, like if you injured yourself, do not do any of these movements. But if you just have bad knees, bad joints like myself, then hopefully some of these will help you out. I also show you guys how to just warm up your hips in general for lower body days. So let's get into it. So this first one's really easy. You want to make sure that you start with your feet a little more than shoulder width apart and then bring them together a little bit less than shoulder width apart. And you want to make sure your toes are pointed forward the entire time, keeping that emphasis on your abductors. And the second one is for your abductors as well. This is going to be a backward and frontward walk. These are pretty easy, but it's easy to mess them up and feel them in the wrong places. So as you see, I keep the band right above my knees. Where you place it is going to depend on you and where you feel it. But you're going to walk backwards, and when you walk backwards, you're almost going to swing your leg out and then bring your toe behind the other one. And you want to make sure you keep your feet forward the entire time. I will also find something to hold on to. So in this case, I'm just going to use the end of this chair. I put the band right above my knees. This is going to depend on your quad size. So just bring it out, bring your leg out. And you can do however many reps as you want. This is just to warm you up. So it's going to depend on like your body. So my hips are always super tight. So I usually do 5 of these on each side. Sometimes I'll do 2 sets. Sometimes I just need to do 1. So I naturally squat with my toes pointed out a little bit. So it only makes sense for me to do some practice squats like that. And this hip circle is really going to activate your hamstrings and your glutes. If you guys haven't seen my video on activating your glutes, I use this and it's great. So if you have trouble, definitely check that out. And then I like to do a squat hold. So I push my feet out and I go down as low as I can, and then I rock back and forth and hold it. And this also helps a bit if you've got some bad knees. You learn how to properly squat down without your knees kind of squatting before you. I also always roll out my ankles. So this is just a movement that I got from cheerleading. So you roll it one way. I'll usually roll it one way 20 times, and then you'll roll it back 20 times. and then you'll just switch and go ahead and do the other ankle. Another great movement if you have some bad knee joints like myself is this hold. So you're gonna pull your toes up. You can either do this with your hand or you can do it with a band. So this is one way that I'll use the band. You wrap it around the back of your foot and you're gonna pull and flex your calf. Really gonna help warm up your knee joint. I know it sounds weird, but it really does help me, as well as pushing your toe down. I know people are weird with feet, so am I, so I'm not trying to show my feet too much. And flexing out your hamstrings and your calves is really just going to help with the mobility of the rest of your lower body. Another movement that I learned from cheerleading that I always do, whether I'm working lower body or not, just because of my hip mobility in general, is going to be the butterfly. So basically, you sit and bring your feet as close to you as you possibly can, and you try and actively push your knees down to the ground. And I'll hold this from anywhere to 30 seconds to an entire minute a lot of the times. Sometimes I'll hold it longer if I'm having a conversation with someone, but every now and then you want to forcibly push your knees down, and this is going to help open up your hip flexors. Another movement that I use to open up my hips is going to be kind of a forward lunge. So you're going to lunge more forward than you usually would in a regular lunge. So your knee is basically going to be parallel to your midfoot, kind of like it is in a squat. You're going to take your knee, you're going to push it out until you feel a nice stretch in your hips. Another easy classic one that you guys will always see me do is the leg swings. So you can do these multiple ways. My favorite way is to kick your leg up, and as you bring it back, you're going to kind of turn it outward and open up that hip. And I'll do about 8 to 10 of those on each side. Basically all of these are going to be to open up your hips, because that is honestly the most important part of the squat. And then another typical one is I like to do one for the back movement. So I keep my leg pretty close to my body and just do a nice little twist. So you have one where you're going to kick your leg up really high in the front, then you're going to have one where you kick your leg up pretty high in the back. And for this last movement, I use this band. So there's a couple different ways that I open up my upper body, and I don't do all of them for when I'm squatting because it's not really necessary and it takes me long enough to warm up anyways. But the first one is going to be just the typical internal external rotation. So I'm just bringing the band over my head, and you're going to stay pretty upright and straight. You don't want to lean forward when you do this. You don't want to lean back. You want to keep your body just completely straight and just bring your arms over. So you're going to feel a stretch in your shoulders. You're going to feel this in your front delts, side delts, and rear delts. You might even feel it in your traps a little bit. And then I will just twist a little bit. So I'll put the band on one side, and then I'll bring it over my head, keeping my body straight forward. You don't want to turn your body. And I'll usually do 5 of these on each side. And then I'll do the other side. And the key with these is to keep it slow and controlled. You don't want to whip it around because you will literally like rip your rotator socket apart. Like it'll just be gone. So be very careful when you do these movements. You want to feel it in your shoulders, maybe a little bit in your lats, but nowhere else, maybe upper back, maybe traps. But if you're feeling it like in your biceps, triceps, elbow, you're doing something weird. So I like to do those, and I also like to do some banded pull-aparts. So where you hold the band is going to depend on what you are trying to kind of activate, basically. So whenever I do bench, I'll usually put it right where I'm going to be benching. When I'm deadlifting and squatting, I like to put it so it activates my upper back. So I'll hold it a little bit higher and just tighten my upper back as I hit my chest. I like to do a second little bounce just so I can squeeze my back together. And I'll do maybe like 8 to 10 of these. The reps doesn't really matter. It's just for warming up. This isn't for building muscle. So it's all going to be dependent on your body, your mobility, and what your goals are for that workout. So we're going to head to the gym now. Remember, these are in the description box if you guys are wondering. This is a size large. It is the Slingshot Hip Circle. It's pink. and this is just your typical resistance band. So I'll have both of these linked down below. I'm gonna bring Bella in because I put her outside because I was gonna film this outside, and then I was like, I don't feel like filming this outside. But she's just chilling. You guys can see her. Bella, you ready to come inside? Bella, ready to come in?
This is my heritage, I'm inheriting money and power, the maker, I'm